NFL Week 6 review for the first half of the show, and then I'll be reviewing some best ball teams. What's going on, everybody? It's been a while. Been dealing with hurricanes and whatnot over here. Great slate of Week 6 games. Usually I do this show live on Mondays. Decided to do Tuesday today because I was expecting the Bills to have some guys missing and wanted to see wanted to include the Bills Jets game. Someone's saying we just got Davante Adams news, so I mean, breaking news here. Gotta search for that. The Jets, the trade for Davante Adams expected to get finalized today. Conditional third-round pick that can go to a second-round pick. He is a Jet. That is official. I mean, gotta tell the people we're live talking Davante Adams. Yeah, I mean, let's just start right there, right? So, okay. Bills Jets was going to be the last game we do. Maybe we just do that bad boy first. These the usage stats are courtesy of PFF, and Nathan Yankee publishes these articles. So the Bills defeated the Jets last night 23-20. This game was, of course, pretty grossly refereed on both sides of the ball. Box score, Josh Allen had a fine day in the office. Also had 18 rushing yards and a goal line touchdown. Ray Davis, breakout game, 97 yards on the ground, 55 yards in the air, including a 40-yard catch, which the defender helped him make some ways. Dalton Kincaid remains involved in the offense, 6 for 51. Curtis Samuel, looking healthier, had some big catches. I think that is big for the Bills and for Curtis Samuel. Khalil Shakir banged up, didn't do much. Keon Coleman didn't do much. James Cook was inactive. Ty Johnson really didn't play that much. Bills rode the hot hand of Ray Davis. On the Jets side, Rodgers, pretty fine day. Jets did lean on Breece Hall with the new coaching change. And Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard had huge days. Lazard, of course, caught a Hail Mary. Digging into the box scores here, or the usage stats, Kincaid, Coleman, Mac Hollins, your top route runners. So, yeah, I still don't think Curtis Samuel is 100%. Only 12 routes run. Maybe give it 2-3 more weeks. I think he's a sneaky waiver wire ad. A healthy Curtis Samuel really changes the Bills' offense. I don't think you put Ray Davis back in the bag. He looked too good. I think him and Cook will be a little bit of thunder and lightning. You know, a discount David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, if you would. Usage on the Jets. Mike Williams ended up getting hurt, but 23 routes run, pretty high for him returning from ACL. Braylon Allen did not play as much with the coaching change, and Lazard remains the wide receiver 2. Okay, now that we've done Bills Jets, let's talk about the Davante Adams trade. So, I mean, obviously it's good for Adams because he was just not going to play as a Raider, it looked like. It's good for Rodgers, you know. It is bad for Mike Williams. It's probably bad for Allen Lazard. It's bad for Tyler Conklin. It's bad for Malachi Corley. Could be good for the Jets as a whole, just if they're a better team with Davante Adams. Garrett Wilson in particular. You know, I think Garrett Wilson will be the number 1A and Davante Adams the number 1B, but hey, it's really Aaron Rodgers' rodeo here. So if he decides he wants to ride the connection of Davante Adams, especially in the red zone, we would expect him to. Could be bad for Garrett Wilson, you know? Fantasy football wise, I don't think Davante Adams landing as a Jet is like a yes, let's go. Think he would have been better as a Cowboy. Think he would have been better as like a Bill, purely fantasy football wise. The Jets are a very logical spot though. They're all in. They basically let Rodgers fire their head coach, so it's an all-in thing. You might as well give Rodgers his cronies, if you would, and see if they can make a run. I think they can. They're 2-4. Pretty winnable schedule. Steelers, very winnable game. Patriots, winnable game. Texans, pretty winnable game, honestly. Cardinals, very winnable game. Colts, very winnable. Seahawks, winnable. Dolphins, winnable. None of these games are the Jets not expected to be in. Let's give them losses to the Texans and Bills again. That has them borderline as a playoff team. With the AFC playoff standings, it remains pretty wonky where okay, the Steelers are 4-2. I could see them losing a stretch of games. The Colts at 3-3. I don't think they're for real, right? The Bengals at 2-4. I think they can go on a run, but I'm not gonna lie. Their win against the Giants wasn't inspiring. The Chargers at 3-2. That could go either way. Broncos at 3-3. Let's call them fake. Dolphins 2-3. I don't know. Like it really depends on Tua. So yeah, the Jets should be in the mix there. They got to be better than the Chargers and the Steelers, basically. I guess I wouldn't. Mike Williams got $10 million in the offseason, like a 1-year, $10 million deal. Aaron Rodgers was brutal in the interviews after the game. The Jets apparently have something called the red line, which is literally a red line 5 yards from the sideline going all the way up the field on their practice field. And Rodgers' expectation on the last throw of the game is that Mike Williams was going to run on the red line, and Aaron Rodgers threw a no-look pass to Mike Williams, expecting him to be there. And then you noticed he wasn't there, so he had to – that's why the ball was a little short, according to him. Hell of a play by Taron Johnson to intercept it, but yeah, I don't know. I could see Mike Williams snaps going to absolute zero. Like, it's very bad for him, mostly. You could kind of let him heal up too, but yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. The Jets need it. They don't really have many excuses left. They have talent everywhere on their team. They just need it to gel together. Rodgers isn't the issue unless it's his leadership is shitty, which kind of seems Aaron Rodgers' way. Okay, Bills Jets out of the way. Let's take out our teacups and talk about the London game where the Bears beat the shit out of the Jaguars. Someone asking why the Bills don't ever make moves. Yeah, I mean, it was never realistic that the Bills were trading for Davante Adams to me this year. Why would they involve themselves in trade rumors? Well, because the Jets were almost certainly going to be trading for them. So you just involve yourself trying to drive up the price. This is a mini reset year for the Bills. They have like $30 million tied up in Stephon Diggs. So they have a lot of dead cap. So mini reset. Can they still win the Super Bowl this year? Yes, they can. But yeah, the Mike Williams bags, not so hot. Okay, Bears, yeah, absolutely destroy the Jags. Great day for DeAndre Swift. He's trending towards a league winner at his price. 17 carries for 91 yards and a touchdown. 4 receptions for 28. I'm happy to see this myself. Drafted a lot. Swift had an aggressive ranking on him, so happy to see him back from the dead. Khalil Herbert remains a 0. Wouldn't be surprised to see him traded out. Roschon Johnson, the RB2. Huge day for Cole Kmet, 570-2. Big day for Keenan Allen, 541-2. And then huge day for Caleb, 226-4. These London games can be really wonky where it just throws your sleep out of whack. Traveling like this, especially if you take a hit to the head, you're injured, you just don't recover as well when you're traveling. And so really nice for the Bears that They improve their win record to 4-2. Huge for them. And now they get the bye. So they get the bye where they're not going to have to deal with going to London, then coming back. The Jags, of course, get to stay in London. This is this weird home game for them. Trevor Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence isn't the problem on the Jaguars. He didn't have many incompletions to start this game. The Jaguars, man, they're just a disaster. Travis Etienne is hurt and then fumbled and then got benched. So he was hurt going into the game, bad shoulder. You have to believe that the injury is a big reason why he's a huge disappointment. I'm very confused why Tank Bigsby only got 7 carries with no ETN. I'm guessing it's because the Jags view him as they have him as a role. He is a 2-down thumper. He is not a pass catcher. So they let D'Ernest Johnson play in that role. Evan Ingram was back from injury, 10 receptions, 100 yards for him. Gabe Davis scored 2 garbage time touchdowns. It was rough. Brian Thomas dropped a touchdown. I think Kirk dropped a touchdown. Strange dropped a touchdown. Usage stats. Rome, just barely your wide receiver 3. So good sign for Rome Odunze. The big game should come. Gerald Everett largely has been removed from this offense. That is a great sign for Colt Kmet. He's a smash. The Swift Roshan breakdown was 17 carries to 5, 20 routes to 10, 4 targets to 2. So Roshan just looks good too. People are like, oh, why was Roshan inactive? Why were they? It's because he was hurt, guys. He was hurt. I don't know what happened to the NFL where they barely report on injuries, but as someone that watched all of Bears Hard Knocks, trying to get some info here, they showed absolutely no Roshan Johnson. They showed barely any Swift. They showed no Herbert. I wasn't sure what's going on with Roshan. I was plugging my nose and taking him. Turns out he was hurt, and they always wanted him to be the RB2. On the Jag side, big thing to look at here is 32 routes run for Evan Ingram off of injury. Great sign to see. So just Ingram, Davis, Kirk, Thomas, and then, the D'Ernest Johnson thing is exactly what I said. Only 7 routes run for Tank Bigsby. They do not view him as a route runner or pass catcher. Let me let my cat out real quick. Go ahead. Out already, buddy. Roll awakes. All right, sorry about that. The Jags play the Patriots this week in London. Again, it's this weird stretch where they get to stay a week in London. If they lose that game, and maybe even if not, I think they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline. They are 1-5 now. If it goes to 1-6, the players I could see being traded are Kirk, Gabe Davis, and then I would say Travis Etienne, but if he's injured, that just means he's less likely to be traded for. If not, I could see Etienne maybe landing with the Chiefs, with the Cowboys. Big week for the Jags. Their season seems toast. Really disappointing. I just don't know how the Jags went from winning that playoff game against the Chargers to here. If it wasn't a London game, I have the assumption that they would have fired Doug Peterson already. So maybe coaching for his job, or maybe he's already fired effectively. Moving on. Commanders and Ravens, battle of the rushing quarterbacks. By the way, guys, let me know if you like these better on Tuesday or Monday. Let me know in the YouTube comments if you end up watching this. Daniels, good day in fantasy, 270-2. Ravens beat the Commanders 30-23. Chipped in 22 yards on the ground. No Brian Robinson Jr. in this one. So we've got 9 carries for Eckler, 6 carries for Daniels, 2 carries for McNichols. Zach Ertz, your leading receiver. Man, just imagine if Zach Ertz was a player with a little bit of juice, what the Commanders would look like. Noah Brown, the leading wide receiver. Terry McLaurin got 2 touchdowns. On the Ravens side, Lamar, a huge day. Derrick Henry, a big day on the ground. And then Zay Flowers, man. He was my pick to be the Ravens' top pass catcher. And it's going to be disappointing games, but 9 for 132 could have been a bigger day if the Ravens weren't up so much. Mark Andrews, okay, he got there this week, but still don't think he's back. And Rashad Bateman quietly having a decent season. Digging into the usage here. This is what you should be concerned about with Mark Andrews is, okay, less snaps played than Isaiah Likely, right? 12 less snaps, same amount of routes. So he's tied for third on the team in routes. Not great, right? Behind Flowers, behind Bateman. But again, as someone that didn't draft Andrews, I've been saying your out here is simply that he's hurt from tightrope, and like Tony Pollard, he gets better as the season goes, and that's still in the cards, right? So Mark Andrews becoming a full route player later in the season is possible. The Ravens are in no rush, of course. They have time. Nelson Agholor remains the wide receiver 3, not a valuable position. And then, yeah, just the Derrick Henry show. Kind of a boring offense to talk through. Not a lot of pieces there. The thing to jump into on the Commanders is what happened with no Brian Robinson Jr. And how that broke down was Eckler and McNichols, the only guys who played. 9 carries for Eckler, 2 for McNichols, 27 routes to 14, 5 to 0 on the targets. The wide receiver room remains this gross 5 wide receiver rotation. Terry, a full route player nearly, 34 routes, most on the team. Noah Brown, second in routes. Olamide Zaccheaus, Luke McCaffrey, Dyami Brown, all getting in there. They have different skill sets, right? Like Dyami's a downfield guy. Luke McCaffrey's a slot, a rookie. Zach Ertz, second on the team in routes. 5th on the team in targets. So, it's a weird offense where it's like it's a very good one, but the players you want are like Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Austin Eckler, and that's like kind of it. So still have hopes for Ben Sinnott and Luke McCaffrey to get going in this offense. Like if I had known the Commanders would be this good and Jahan Dotson would be traded, you would think Luke McCaffrey would have been a slam dunk pick. Haven't seen it yet, but still have hopes for that. Moving on. Packers at the Cardinals. Packers win relatively easy here, 34-13. On the Cardinal side, Kyler Murray, 200 yards and a touchdown. Nothing going on the ground. Trey Benson, DeMar Cardo, and Connor, all for roughly 25 yards each. Trey McBride, a huge day, 8 for 96. Marvin Harrison Jr. ended up getting concussed in this one. Michael Wilson caught a touchdown. On the Packers side, Jordan Love, huge day, 4 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 62 yards on the ground on 18 carries. Emmanuel Wilson, 54 yards on only 7 carries. So he remains involved. Don't know if that came in garbage time, though. Christian Watson, back in the lineup, caught a 50-yard touchdown, 368 and 1 on the day. Romeo Doubs caught 2 touchdowns, 349 and 2. Jaden Reed caught a touchdown, 628 and 1. Dontavian Wicks, I think, hurt his shoulder. And then Tucker Kraft, nothing going today. So, yeah, on the Packers side, with Christian Watson back, Wicks was down to 7 routes. Again, he hurt his shoulder, so I don't know if this is because Watson was back or when he got hurt. I'm not 100% sure there. I think it is injury, though, but I think, who is more sustainable here? Romeo Doubs catching 2 touchdowns or Watson catching 1 long bomb? I think Watson, because that's just what he does, right? He's a fast guy. Love can hit him deep. Doubs caught some goal line touchdowns. That's not going to be there every week. The targets broke down to 4, 4, 6, so pretty even. Still think Reed is by far and away the stud to want here. Tucker Kraft, 30 routes run. Sick for him. Bo Melton, Malik Heath, they're getting a little bit of work as well. And then Emmanuel Wilson, 7 to 18 carries, 11 to 22 routes, 2 to 3 targets compared to Josh Jacobs. So still room for Marshawn Lloyd to return to this team. And yeah, despite what a wild turn of events, right? Like Christian Watson, we think he's like out significant time. Turns out, no, he's back. The Wicks Hive is celebrating. And then Watson returns, catches a long touchdown. Wicks is now hurt. So just craziness of football, right? On the Cardinal side, Marvin Harrison Jr. got hurt early in this one. Xavier Weaver is the 4th wide receiver on the Cardinals. If you knew that, I did not. So Michael Wilson, Weaver, Dortch. Zay Jones is suspended because of domestic abuse. He's going to return soon, though. So he might, I don't know if Weaver beat him out or what. But notable there. Trey McBride. Yeah, he's just so important to the Cardinals offense. So is Marvin Harrison Jr. So just going to be tough for them to be successful without both those guys going. And then slowly but surely, we're getting some Trey Benson. We got no Trey Benson in the Cardinals win over the 49ers. So I don't know if this is them trying to get the rookie more involved or if they're only letting him play in blowouts. But yeah, 4 routes run, 5 carries. Encouraging to see. Moving on. Texans and Patriots, a pretty fun one. Drake May's first start. Texans win 41-21. CJ Stroud, 3 touchdowns. Joe Mixon, huge day. 13 carries, 100 yards, a touchdown. Dameon Pierce broke a long run, 876 and 1 touchdown. He had like a 60-yard touchdown run, 50-yard touchdown run. Stephon Diggs, 677 and 1 with no Nico Collins. Tank Dell, 757-1, no Nico Collins. Joe Mixon caught a touchdown. Dalton Schultz had 27 yards. Drake May threw for 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in his first NFL start. He also had 38 yards on the ground. With no Ramondre Stevenson in this one, Antonio Gibson could get nothing going, 13 for 19. Demario Douglas was the top wide receiver, 692 and 1. Kayshon Boutte, 359 and 1. Hunter Henry, 341 and 1. No Kendrick Bourne, nothing. Jalen Polk, nothing. He's might be a bust. Let's dig into the usage here. A lot to dig into usage wise here. So on the Texans, no Nico Collins. What happened? Well, unfortunately, Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie seem to split the wide receiver 3 duties. Now, again, the Texans won by 20, so I'm not sure when these John Mechie snaps and routes occurred. Did they occur when the game was competitive slightly, or did they occur mostly in the 4th quarter? I need to dig into that more. But yeah, Hutchinson and Mechie, they're going to be piecemealing wide receiver 3 with no Nico. Dalton Schultz remains way more involved without Nico, 8 targets for him. And then Dameon Pierce, first game active in some time, operated pretty much as the RB2, 8 carries to Joe Mixon's 13, 9 routes to Joe Mixon's 14. And Dari Ngumbawale also remains involved, but more as a pass catcher, not getting many carries. On the Patriots side, so Drake May's first game, the routes broke down as 32 for Boutte, 29 for Polk, 28 for Douglas, 22 for Bourne, and that's pretty huge for Bourne. Remember, this is Bourne's second game after tearing his ACL last year, so he ran 10 routes last week. If he is going to, go to like 25, 26 routes, who is that going to come at expense of is the big question. Last week, I would have said it's going to come at the expense of Boutte because he's not very good. But you know who else doesn't seem too good right now is Jalen Polk. So not going to be surprising if Polk loses some work to Bourne. Douglas seems cemented in his role. Other than that, it's super ambiguous still. KJ Osborne seems to have lost the battle, though. He is at least wide receiver 5. Javon Baker, he's still in the mix. He's probably wide receiver 6 right now. So Doug, Polk, Bourne, or Boutte, some combo of those guys will be your top 3. And maybe they're going to do a gross 4 wide receiver rotation, which is not good for anyone, to be honest, other than maybe Douglas. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper Like this is what you don't like to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys running 20 routes or more. Austin Hooper is of course nearly a 0 in the passing game. And then no Ramondre, JaMychal Hasty, your RB3 there, but Terrell Jennings also got 5 carries, so yeah, I don't know. Not the real who do you want in fantasy? Drake May, right? Yeah, you play Drake May and maybe Pop Douglas if you're desperate. And maybe Kendrick Bourne. Like I drafted some Kendrick Bourne. I think he's been really good in his past, so his skill set messes well with May as well. So slight hopes for Bourne that if he gets healthy, he would be pretty fun. Moving on. Bucks beat up on the Saints. 51-27. Spencer Rattler's first game here with no Derek Carr. I think the Saints lost Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed in this game, which is just Jesus, man. Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdowns, also 3 interceptions. So the Saints D still remains kind of legit. No Rachaad White means Sean Tucker. RIP my 2023 best ball bags. Sean Tucker had a great day. 14 carries, 140 and 1. Bucky Irving, 14 carries, 81 yards and 1. Sterling Shepard got some carries. Chris Godwin, huge day. I was all over this in DFS. The Saints have been getting beat up in the middle of the field. We've seen now Dallas Goedert go off against them. We saw Juju Smith-Schuster, which that one was like, okay, Chris Godwin, he's a little bit better than Juju. So huge day for him. 125 and 2. A miss for me in best ball, though. I was drafting guys like Brian Thomas Jr. over him, just more of the rookies. And yeah, I think the big thing with Godwin is that, remember, he was injured 2 years ago. And so last year was his first year off of injury, was okay. And now he's probably fully healthy. So whenever you're returning from injury, it's just so hard to say, right? Like Chris Godwin, how old is this guy? Probably like 28. He's 28. So at that age, it can go either way, right? Like you can just start naturally slowing down, or you get fully healthy. You still have a couple years in your prime. That seems to be the Chris Godwin message here. And also just targeting pass catchers for statue quarterbacks like Mayfield. No one else got much going in the receiving game. Cade Otton caught a touchdown. That's pretty good for best ball. And yeah, Sean Tucker might be earning more of a role here. Not sure, right? Like Rachaad White is in trouble. Maybe even the 4-2 Bucks trade him away. Spencer Rattler, encouraging debut for a 5th round rookie. The Bucks blitz a lot, so 243 yards, a touchdown. Could have been worse. Alvin Kamara continues to get there. 13 carries, 40 yards, a touchdown. No one really had a great day receiving. Juwan Johnson, Bub Means, he seems to be your wide receiver 1 with no Shaheed or Olave. Foster Moreau. Like, this is a rough group of receivers for Rattler. So, seems like the deck is stacked against Rattler. 13 targets for Chris Godwin. Absolutely insane. Sterling Shepard, 2nd on the team in routes run. Jalen McMillan, he's returning from injury. So, don't know how much of this is injury. Don't know how much of this is Baker played with Shepard in college, I believe. So, he might just be like, hey, I want Sterling Shepard out there. And they're like, sure, dude. Cade Otton, his role is awesome. Plays most of the snaps, runs most of the routes. And then, yeah, the breakdown of Irving versus Sean Tucker. 14 carries apiece, 2 to 3 targets, 26 routes runs for Bucky, 12 for Sean Tucker. So Bucky clearly the RB1, but Sean Tucker could be frisky. On the Saints side, Chris Olave got hurt early in this one. I think Rashid Shaheed finished the game and then got hurt. So Bub Means, Cedric Wilson, Mason Tipton. These are your Saints' top 3 wide receivers with no Olave, no Shaheed. It's a rough group, guys. Bob Beans and Mason Tipton are the ones I have the most hope for, simply because Cedric Wilson's a journeyman. And then, yeah, they're going to lean on their tight ends too. Juwan Johnson, 36 routes run, pretty solid. Kendre Miller has been activated off IR, but I think he was a healthy scratch for this game. So they're still waiting to bring him along. There is room for an RB2 here. So I would go ahead and stash him. And then, yeah, moving on. Yeah, I mean, confusing by the Jets that they didn't trade for Devontae Adams before the Bills game. Pretty huge game for them, but is what it is. Eagles win a close one against the Browns. 20-16. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith were healthy for this one with the Eagles off their bye. Browns lost Jerome Ford to injury in this one, looking like it could be a couple weeks. So, and Nick Chubb is back practicing, so that one's tough for my best ball bags. Pierre Strong and D'Onta Foreman picked up the slack there. Yeah, the whole Browns passing game sucks. Moving on. Eagles side, Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns on the day. Saquon, 18 carries, 47 yards, looking a lot less efficient. A.J. Brown, 6, 116 and 1. Devonta Smith, 364 and 1. Grant Calcaterra, 4 for 67. Interesting. He's a tight end on the team. Digging into the usage, Jahan Dotson remains wide receiver 3 on the team. He's mostly in a, he just runs routes that don't get targeted. Just a wind sprinter. Not playing that many snaps, though. And then, yeah, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown back to running full-time routes. Dallas Goedert also got hurt, and that is why Grant Calcaterra had a good day. So depending on Dallas Goedert's injury, Calcaterra maybe will be a waiver ad. I'm not sure how severe his injury is, to be honest with you. Saquon, though, remains dominant here. 18 carries, 16 routes run. So he, of course, was helped by Smith and Brown missing games. And this is why I never, I was going to put out my resurrection rankings. I had Barkley as, the market had him as the number 1 overall player. I had him as, the 6th or 7th player because I would just prefer every elite wide receiver over him. Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, right? These guys are no-brainers for me. Where Saquon, yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown's going to have some huge games. Smith's going to have some huge games. Hurts still going to get touchdowns. So there's still some issues for him despite him looking good, although he was pretty inefficient today. On the Brown side, okay, Amari Cooper, the wideout 1. Njoku, he got an MRI after the game, so he's looking healthy. That's good to see. Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman were splitting wide receiver 3. That is notable because Moore was firmly wide receiver 3 to start the year, and Tillman, I guess, is earning that role a little bit. He's, of course, a much bigger body, so if you're trying to run the football and block, you would prefer Tillman out there versus Moore. So going to be interesting to see if he flips more next week. And then, yeah, Jerome Ford lost early in this one. It broke down to Pierre Strong, 8 carries, 17 routes run. D'Onta Foreman, 10 carries, 6 routes run. Nick Chubb is activated off IR. So I don't know, a lot to sort through there injury-wise. And of course the whole team sucks, right? Let's see. Hamstring injury for Goddard. Also hamstring injury for Ford. So hamstrings are tricky, man. Colts beat the Titans in a close one. Joe Flacco got the start here for some reason, even though Richardson was the emergency 3rd quarterback. No Jonathan Taylor again. Joe Flacco, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Goodson. Man, will they let me global swap all my Evan Hull shares to Goodson? 8 carries, 51 yards. Trey Sermon, 18 carries, 29 yards. So he is who we thought he is. Pretty inefficient. Josh Downs, 7 catches, 66 yards, a touchdown. Michael Pittman Jr., he was supposed to go on season-ending IR or something. And then within 8 hours, they're like, yeah, never mind, he's playing the game. So Michael Pittman, 335-1. Really, it's just Josh Downs and Pittman getting something going here. Will Levis, terrible. Tony Pollard, awesome. Man, I played some Calvin Ridley in DFS. He got a bunch of downfield targets, but never again. Absolutely never again until I see Will Levis be competent. Will we be betting on some Will Levis targets? Usage, 10 targets for Josh Downs. So, yeah, I mean, if you read the training camp reports, the rumor was that Downs was just going to be the wide receiver one over Michael Pittman this year. Certainly seems that way. Very talented second-year player. The Sermon versus Goodson breakdown was 18 carries to 8, 15 routes run apiece, but Goodson got 5 targets and Sermon 0. Tight end remains a wasteland. Adonai Mitchell, only 11 routes run to Alec Pierce's 33. On the Titan side, not really much to talk about here. Tajay Spears is banged up. Only got 6 carries, only 4 routes run. I think he's going to miss next week, is the rumor there. So, and then, yeah, they have I mean, you don't want anyone on this team. Maybe you want them to sell DeAndre Hopkins at the trade deadline. Moving on, Chargers beat the Broncos 23-16. Justin Herbert, 237-1. J.K. Dobbins, man. So I had major questions about J.K. Dobbins after he was extremely inefficient. Now, 3.8 yards a carry is also inefficient, but you do like to see, if you're a Dobbins believer, 25 carries off the bye, 96 yards, a touchdown. So awesome workload. It really seems like the Chargers just want to win games like this, grinding it out. So J.K. Dobbins, a smash pick currently. Kamani Vidal, first game active, and Gus Edwards is on IR for at least 4 games. So Kamani Vidal, 4 carries, 11 yards. In the receiving game, it's rough for the Chargers. Ladd McConkey, 4 for 43. Kamani Vidal, 240 and a touchdown. Josh Palmer, 2 for 38. Simi Fehoko, 2 for 44. Man, it sucks. Broncos, Bo Nix, 2 touchdowns. Bo Nix, 6 for 60 on the ground. It's really just the Bo Nix show. Nothing going for the running backs. Troy Franklin got a touchdown. Cortland Sutton got a touchdown. Davon Valley got 80 yards. Usage stats. J.K. Dobbins versus Kamani Vidal was 25 carries to 4, 18 routes to 10, 3 targets to 2. So Dobbins only running 8 more carries than Kamani Vidal is a good sign for Vidal. Vidal, a rookie, first game active. So we're expecting his role to grow, which inherently will come at the expense of Dobbins. Will Dissly, 22 routes run. Hayden Hurst, I think, got banged up. Will Dissly's a blocking tight end, so you don't really want him running a lot of routes. He's not capable with them. Looks like the Chargers are even tiring of the Quentin Johnston experience. DJ Chark still not able to return from IR, but Simi Fehoko ran more routes. Josh Palmer ran more routes. Quentin Johnston, 3 targets. Yeah, I don't know. Really rough for the Chargers offense and Justin Herbert. Lucas Kroll was the hopefully the Broncos trade away Greg Dulcich because they're not letting him play. Lucas Kroll, 30 routes run. The wide receivers, Sutton, Franklin, and Devon Valley were your top 3 here. So great sign for Troy Franklin drafters that he has found his way to the top of the chart. Josh Reynolds has like Achilles issues every once in a while. So I think he was like inactive or something. The running back room was pretty much the Javonte Williams show, but Audric Estime activated off IR, probably going to earn more of a role. Let's look at the NFL Next Gen stats for J.K. Dobbins to see what his rushing yards over expectation was. People are saying QJ banged up, so that one's on me. Banged up, also not that good. I don't catch it all, guys. I try to watch all the games, but that's why we got you guys. So if we dig into week 6, rushing yards over expectation to the negative, J.K. Dobbins with a respectable day, right? He was pretty bad the past 2 outings, so good to see from an efficiency standpoint here. Chargers, of course, had all sorts of injuries on their O-line and whatnot, so possibly that is why. Steelers at the Raiders. Steelers win comfortably in this one. Justin Fields, 2 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, I was all over Fields in DFS as well. You play Fields in matchups where you're facing a bad rushing team. Jaylen Warren, back healthy in this one. Saw 6 carries. Najee Harris, a huge day. I didn't think Najee Harris had this in his bag of tricks. 14 carries, 100 yards, a touchdown, 7.5 yards a carry. Just great to see for Najee Harris because, to be honest with you, it's a lot of plotting. It's a lot of, I still think this is unusual. You're not going to get many games like this, but good for him. Receiving game remains largely uninterested. The Raiders, Aiden O'Connell got the start here, 227-1. Alexander Mattison, 14 carries, 33 yards, a touchdown. He also had a touchdown called back. So Alexander Mattison looking like an awesome late round draft pick. Brock Bowers, your top receiver on the day. So yeah, things have broken really well for Brock Bowers, where Devontae Adams is now getting traded. And if he's going to be seeing 8 to 10 targets a game, he is locked in as a top tight end. Usage stats: Pickens, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin are your 3 wide receivers. Roman Wilson, first game active, rookie, 3rd round pick. I'm expecting him to eventually earn a role. It's going to take a couple weeks, though. The Steelers go do things slowly. Darnell Washington, roughly 5th on the team in routes run. He's a big body, so interesting there. Najee Harris versus Jaylen Warren broke down like this: 14 carries to 7, 14 routes to 11, 2 targets to 3. Expecting Warren to play more as things go. And in trailing game scripts, he should play a lot more than Najee. On the Raiders end, I think Jacoby Myers got hurt in this one at some point. 39 routes for Trey Tucker, 27 routes for DJ Turner. Yeah, you don't even see Myers on the routes run list, so he must have gotten banged up. Let's see what our friends say here. Yeah, doubtful due to an ankle injury. I don't think he played in this one, actually, is what happened. So Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, Alec Bachman, Christian Wilkerson. These are your top 4 wide receivers. An absolute wasteland. Trey Tucker, the only one with a little bit of talent here, probably. Just a rough group, but 11 targets for Bowers, insane. Tucker, Turner, Bowers, your top in routes run. Harrison Bryant also running a lot of routes. The running back room, Dylan Lobby, the rookie out of UNH, got his first NFL action. 1 carry, 1 fumble. Welcome to the doghouse. Alexander Mattison, 14 carries, 25 routes run, 5 targets. Amir Abdullah, I think he also fumbled. 4 carries, 13 routes run, 5 targets. So, yeah, rough days here. Panthers versus Falcons. Falcons beat up on the Panthers. Captain Kirk, 225-1. Tyler Algier, 18-105-1. Bijan Robinson, 15-95-2. So he's looking healthier. Drake London, 70 yards in the touchdown. Kyle Pitts, 70 yards. On the Panthers side, Andy Dalton, 2 touchdowns. Chuba Hubbard, 18-92. Deontay Johnson, 678-1. Jatavian Sanders, 50 yards, 5 catches. That's pretty notable. Leggett got a touchdown as well. Usage stats: Mooney, London, McLeod, no surprises there. Your top 3 in routes run. London growing as a more target dominant player. Good sign for the London drafters. Kyle Pitts, only 5 targets. So he's still going to be a boom bust tight end. But you could do worse than best ball where he's capable of having big games. The Bijan versus Algier split was 15 to 18 carries, 19 to 6 routes, 3 targets versus 1. Algier definitely got some more work as this game got out of hand. The Falcons won by 18. But good sign to see for Bijan, who didn't play that much this last game, looking like he is healthier. On the Panthers, I think we might get Jonathan Brooks this week. But in the meantime, it was Deontay, Leggett, and Jalen Coker as your top 3 in routes run. Jonathan Mingo remains not an NFL player, firmly 4th in routes run here. Jatavian Sanders with no Tommy Tremble, just your clear tight end 1. So, hey, he's looking like a great best ball pick. And then, yeah, we'll have to monitor what happens to Chuba, who's just been awesome with Brooks returning. Lions destroy the Cowboys 47-9. Goff, 315-3. David Montgomery, 2 rushing touchdowns, 80 yards. Gibbs, 60 yards on the ground. Jameson Williams, 376-1. Cleve Raymond, a random 70-yard game. Tim Patrick, a random 70-yard game. Sam Laporta, 1 catch, 50 yards, a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 437-1. So everybody eats on the Lions. Cowboys, terrible. Dak, only 178 yards. Rico Dowdle, 5 for 25. CeeDee Lamb, 90 yards, 7 catches. Jalen Tolbert, 4 for 43. Rico Dowdle, 5 for 30. So off the bye here, not much to say other than that Patrick and Raymond were pretty split in routes run. Patrick did play a little bit more than Raymond in the past. Laporta remains kind of in his role here. But, another tough thing for Laporta is you don't love to see Brock Wright and Parker Hesse getting some routes as well. Jahmyr Gibbs, 19 routes to Montgomery's 6, 12 carries apiece, 5 targets to Montgomery's 1. Montgomery did get the goal line touchdowns, though. And he got a contract extension before this game, so Montgomery's here to stay. Cowboys, with no Brandon Cooks, Tolbert, Lamb, Brooks, your top 3. Kevontae Turpin, your 4. Ryan Flournoy fumbled the ball, so the rookie, welcome to the doghouse. 5, 14, 6, 7, like awesome targets for them all. Some of these targets were prayer targets, so not so good. Ferguson, he's in an awesome role. Didn't get there this week. Zeke played a lot in this one. I'm guessing that was when the game was out of hand. 14, 11, 14 routes, 8, 5, 0 carries, 6 targets for Rico Dowdle. So Rico Dowdle remaining to look like a solid best ball pick. Just a rough day for the Cowboys. I mean, I don't know what to say about the Cowboys, right? Like, they're firmly a playoff team to me, but every time they play a good team, they get destroyed. So that's just like, that's not a Super Bowl contender. Bengals versus the Giants. I mean, honestly, the Bengals, like, they needed to win this game. I still think they can make the playoffs, but I didn't leave this game encouraged. I think the Giants should have won this game. They had many, many opportunities to try to convert like 4th downs and keep the ball away from the Bengals. Bengals got there in the end. Joe Burrow, 208 yards in the air, also 55 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Chase Brown and Zach Moss both fumbled in this one. Moss got benched after his fumble. Brown did not. So 10 carries, 53 yards, a touchdown. Definitely seems like a little bit of a changing of the guard, but Moss should still be involved. Has been dealing with some injuries. Higgins, 7 for 77. Chase, 5 for 72. No one else really did anything in the air. Chase Brown, 2 for 11. Giants, Daniel Jones, 11 carries, 56 yards. So, yeah, the Giants tried, just couldn't get there. Tyrone Tracy, very athletic running back. Going to be a problem for Devin Singletary, who is not athletic. Should remain involved. Only 2.9 yards for carry, but got a touchdown as well. Darius Slayton, 6 for 57. Tyrone Tracy, 6 for 57. Wan'Dale Robinson, 3 for 50. Theo Johnson, 3 for 30. So Johnson, quite like Jatavian Sanders, looking like a solid draft best ball pick, a tight end, giving you some production. Usage stats for the Bengals, 6, 7, 3 targets. Yeah, Andre Yoshivas has largely gone to 0 since Chase and Higgins have returned. He's still going to have some spike weeks, but doesn't seem like a target dominant player. A lot of people are talking about, T. Higgins has out targeted Jamar Chase in a lot of games. Yeah, I mean, when one guy gets double covered every route and one guy doesn't, it makes sense that T. Higgins is going to see more targets than the guy being double covered. Eric All, the rookie, more routes run than Mike Gesicki. However, blocking tight end Drew Sample also getting an equal amount of routes. So I think eventually All will run the most routes of this group, but it's going to be a little bit slow. The Chase Brown versus Zach Moss, 10 to 6 carries, 20 to 14 routes, 3 for 1 targets, all with Brown being the first numbers there. And again, both fumbled. Brown, they went back to. Moss, they benched. So don't know what's going to go on there. With no Malik Neighbors, it was Slayton seeing 11 targets, Wan'Dale Robinson seeing 8, and Theo Johnson seeing 4, and Tracy 6. So is what it is for the Giants. And then the Bills game and the Jets game we already talked about. I'm going to grab a second coffee, and then let's talk about some best ball. So if you came here just for the week 6 review, you're covered. Going to jump into reviewing some best ball portfolio because I didn't get to do that last week. Be right back. So, jumping into the best ball portion of the show. Thanks for watching, by the way, guys. If you like this content, please do be sure to like and subscribe. I'm on the road to 6K. I'm only 100 away, so appreciate you. Let's go to the trusty tool BBMDB. You can find this pinned in my Discord, which is linked below. I don't think this week was like a great week for my bags. Last time we talked 2 weeks ago, I was only advancing 12 out of 150. Last week, I was advancing 25 or 26, which is expectation. Now I'm down to 19. Of course, last week was good for me because Jamar Chase went off, Brandon Ayuk went off. This week, they didn't. So when you have heavy stands, that's how it's going to work. Pretty happy to get back to at average. And again, like I'm not someone who's like trying to advance 50 teams, right? Like the only real way to do that is to have a really narrow player pool. And that's not what I think is optimal for trying to actually win the contest, right? Like if you're trying to advance literally the same team, okay, you could have a really good year, but all your teams could get bounced in the same week in the playoffs as well. Although I did advance 51 teams on DraftKings last year, but that just had to do with me drafting a lot of Kyron Williams. Yeah, no, should you be worried about your advance weight? The answer is no, right? The answer is no, you shouldn't. Just chill out if you're worried about your, I mean, look, if you're advancing like one team, okay, it's going to be a bad year for you, but just give it more time here. And of course, like the quality of your teams matter more. So this is my top scoring team. Seems to just smash every week. Got some awesome pieces on it, right? Like the running back room, I guess you would say, is a little questionable with ETN and White right now. But Swift, Kamara, Cook all seem awesome. Ray Davis, I got a lot of Ray Davis. Maybe we should start by, let's just go through my exposures. Where's a good spot for teams that aren't advancing to be at? Top 3, top 5? I mean, it doesn't work like that, right? Like, I have teams in 3rd that are 100 points back. I have teams in 7th that are 5 points back. So, anywhere within 50 points or so probably feels good. Week 7, week 8, week 9, week 10, week 11, week 12, week 13, week 14. You have 8 weeks until the regular season is over. So if you're 100 points back, you need to roughly score, what, like 15 points, even less, 12 points to make up the gap, you know? So many teams are alive. Bad week for Jerome Ford. Again, this was a really cheap pick of mine, which I think was sharp. Like, definitely was sharp to draft Ford at 130 when he went to an ADP of 100. But hurt his hamstring, so that's bad. Kincaid was fine. Big day for Ray Davis was nice. I've just kind of blindly drafted him. So good to see him, the theory kind of come to life there. He's definitely going to earn a bigger role. Ferguson, not so much. Moss, not so much. But again, Moss versus Chase Brown. I have 23 Chase Brown teams and 34 Moss teams. So pretty split there. Zay Flowers had a big day. That was nice. Christian Watson had a big day relatively and is healthy. That is nice. Cook missed. Yeah, really just like a so-so day for the bags. Trey McBride was fine. But what's hurting me is I didn't have Chris Godwin. He was the best player this past week, right? But yeah, looking at the individual teams, I think tells a better story. So my second highest scoring team, a Daniels, Mayfield, Watson team. Watson must have been cheap in this one. Chase Nico. I would still take Nico on every single one of my teams. Like 4 weeks, who cares? Could not think of a player I want on my team. Bowers and Ferguson, that sick. Moore, McCaffrey, whatever. But Brian Thomas, McLaurin, Evans, Nico, Chase, that is sick. Hopefully Chase, Nico, Terry, Brian Thomas can hold it down. Running back room, Chuba, Ray, Ford hurt, Corum off the bye, maybe plays more. Brian Robinson missed. ETN hurt. So running back room, pretty rough. Hurts and Daniels, that's sick. Walker, Swift, that's sick. Benson, no. Ford, meh. Gibson, okay. Prince, no. So not too much of a complete team there. Let's check how many teams. So I got 19 advancing. Let's check how many teams I have within like 30. Let's just say 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, So I got 24 teams within 30, plus 19 teams advancing. So 34, 40, 45 teams in the mix. Feels good. Funny enough, like my marathon teams, if my marathon teams were best ball, let's see how I'm doing there for top 2 teams. 1, 2, 3. I'm advancing 35 of my marathon teams. Of course, the marathon team is total points, but I built those teams more running back heavy, and I built my BBM portfolio a lot more um, zero running back heavy, with the thought that many of the teams would be dead. I don't really care about it. I'm just trying to advance that one magic bullet to win the contest. So having 45 or so teams within punching distance of advancing feels pretty good, honestly. Maybe I can get that to 30 in the end, something like that. It really depends, right? Like, and it depends how you draft. If Brandon Ayuk scores 30 points in a week, my advance rate will shoot up, or Jamar Chase. If I lose those guys to injury, my season's going to suck, right? Like, that's just how it's going to be when you draft kind of risky. Um, I didn't draft a lot of Devontae Adams, but I want to look at those teams, see if we landed any Jets to Adams. So only 8 teams. I got one advancing, a Chase Adams, Tank, Brian Robinson, Rashee Rice, Christian Watson, Michael Wilson team. This team's pretty sick. Rice obviously out. But Kyron Ford, Dowdle, Chuba, Roshan, Braylon Allen, that's all good. Hurts and Lawrence is fine. Ingram and Goddard is good. I guess it really depends on the Goddard injury. This one is 10 points back. So we now have the Adams to Kincaid week 17 correlation. This team I went triple elite tight end, and I think it's I auto drafted a pick here or something. No. Let's look at Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. So C Desperados just had the best day of his life. These guys are all big Adams drafters and have Rodgers paired with him a lot. Rodgers and Adams. 400 teams are advancing like that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many, injuries is playing a huge part to an advance rate discussion, right? Neighbors a smash hurt, Cooper Kupp a smash hurt, Puka Nacua hurt. I got a lot of Puka teams. Unfortunately, none are advancing. Yeah, that stinks, right? Like in another year, maybe where Puka doesn't get hurt in the first game, maybe I'm advancing a couple of these teams. I like that I have some in the mix here. This team's sick because it has Bijan and Puka. So only 3 behind. I'll take that with Puka returning eventually. It's got Love, Bo Nix, Drake May. Pretty nice. Bijan, Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, Jordan Mason. Smash running back room. Mason injury. Gonna play a picture here. Puka out. Smith back healthy finally. I mean, like this one's had a lot of injuries. Zay Flowers, yes. Reed, yes. Watson, yes. Polk, meh. Downs, yes. McBride and Ferguson. This team fucks. Just got to get Puka back healthy. I love this team, honestly. What did I want to look up? Don't remember. We'll look at the top scoring teams, though, right now. Bolt Jim. To Daniel's Cousins Mayfield team, Saquon Kamara, Javonte Williams, Bucky Irving, Braylon Allen, Chase Evans, McLaurin, Godwin, Rice out, Myers hurt, Mooney, Calvin Austin, Bowers Goddard. I mean, doesn't seem that special. Oh, I know what I wanted to look at. I wanted to look at how my Drake May teams are doing. Still 0 for 18. This one is the Bijan team. Yeah, I mean, if you got big May bags, you got to feel good. Oh, this is cool. I've never seen this before. All right. So what happens if we do draft order? So you can see how many points you scored each week. And what happened if I do used weeks? Okay. So it's saying I used Bijan 5 of 6 weeks, Mason 4 of 6 weeks, Smith, Flowers, Reed 4 of 6, Watson and Downs 3 weeks each, McBride and Ferguson 3 weeks each. I really like the used weeks feature. And this is a good way of seeing how complete your team is. Right? Like what you want to see here is you want to see something kind of like this where you have some dominant guys, but then a lot of guys contributing. What you don't want to see is a team with like a lot of guys at 0. God, I used the Puka Nacua week. So yeah, my Puka team's looking kind of, or my May teams. I don't know why all my May teams suck, but they do. Stroud and May, White, Brown, Singletary, Ford, Algier, Gibson, just the running backs. You know, like some of the running backs that are looking like hits now, Tyrone Tracy. I didn't draft a lot of him. Just thought the Giants would be bad. I think that, I think I went too extreme there. Tyrone Tracy's an athletic guy. So if he saw the field, he would have opportunity. A.T. Perry, man. A.T. Perry, I think, is like on the Broncos practice squad now. So that's a funny one. How, 176 points behind. Josh Allen and May. Okay. White, Benson, Ford, Zeke, Ty Chandler, Gibson. Like, this is your problem with the team. The running backs. Puka, obviously. Ayuk, Rome, Brian Thomas. Yeah, this is the other problem with the team. We super stacked, and it's not working, right? With that. But this team, man. This is the team of destiny. Let's look at my other teams based on used weeks. Drake Stoops? No. Okay, so used weeks on my top scoring team. Looking pretty flat. Oh, yeah, I wanted to look at my Isaac Garendo teams. Because Isaac Garendo is a guy, maybe I drafted him more on DraftKings, but yeah, I drafted him somewhat in May. You can see I have 3 teams all from May. And I stopped drafting him. So nice to see that he's now alive. So this team's advancing. A Burrow, Mayfield, Levis team. Kyron, Chase Brown, Lloyd, Ray Davis, Algier, Herbert, Isaac Garendo. Chase, Mike Evans, Brian Thomas, Hopkins, Curtis Samuel, Mike Williams, Travis Kelce, McBride. I don't know how this team's advancing. I guess it's just like the big games have timed at the right time. Kyron is a big reason it's advancing as well. Overall, I think anyone preaching patience on advance rate has been proven correctly. Like Saquon Barkley is now down to 28.5%. He was at 44%. Kamara is at 40% still. That's still going to come down to me. He was cheaper than Saquon, of course. Derrick Henry, probably still outrageously high. 45%. That has to come down at his cost. Let's see what Chase went to. 34.5%. That's still really high because he was roughly there. Of course, buys are playing a part now. Like Jefferson is down to 23% after he missed a game due to the buy. Amon-Ra is an example of a player who's underrepresented because he has a buy, so that's going up. Bijan, did he get to positive advance rate? Neutral. He got to neutral off of a 2-touchdown game. And how about Brees? He had a good game. Did he get to neutral? He got to neutral as well. That's funny. They're both at the 9,370 for Brees versus 9,343 for Bijan. So, let's look at Bijan plus Braylon Allen teams. This was like the chalk, like leverage off of failure. So that was combined 3582. And what if we do Brees and Algier? That was combined 3558. And then if we just do like Jonathan Taylor and either of these running backs, 3260. What about with Braylon? 3360. So doesn't really seem like the field was trying to purposely leverage off of failure. Like if you're confused why Braylon Allen plus Bijan is trying to leverage off of failure, it's because you're saying Bijan was a better pick than Breece Hall. And in this case, Breece Hall gets hurt or Braylon Allen just outplays them or whatever. And so now you have Bijan and you have another very valuable player who is directly leveraging off the failure of Breece Hall, who goes at the similar cost. Well, yeah, but Kamara's going to go significantly down if the Saints are rolling out no Olave, no Shaheed. You know, when you don't need to defend the pass at all, that's going to be bad news for Kamara, who's not that efficient, right? He's getting there on awesome usage. That can easily go away. I'm going to have my tweets out later, just pulling the first round advance rates and everything, the quarterback advance rates. Anybody in the chat? We got like 150 of you watching. Anyone want to look at anything? Shout it out. This is your time, either for my teams or whatever. Very even spread on the usable. Ladd McConkey chipping in 4 weeks. Kind of crazy. DK teams. We'll do another time for DK teams. I don't know. The DK Millie Maker I drafted all my DK Millie Makers like the same week. I built them all 0 running back. I just view it as more of a crapshoot because it's such a bigger contest. FFPC. I didn't do many best balls there, but I think I'm roughly expectation. Got a bunch of teams in the mix. Got a bunch of dead teams too. Only one advancing looks like right now. Our main event, we just had a tough loss on this team. Because of Dak hurt us down. But we were a playoff team. So points 8-10. What are we at? We're at, oh my God, we're not a playoff team right now by 0.1 points. But we're getting screwed on straight win-loss. But, you know, the fourth, we're going to try to get there on the point scored tiebreaker. And this team's pretty good. It's got Caleb and Dak on by, so I picked up May last week. Pretty sharp. Bijan and Kyron Williams are our running backs. And then Jaden Reed, Ryan Thomas, Kincaid. Yeah, we got a lot of guys on by. Ferguson on by. We got DJ Moore on by. This team's pretty nice. I think it will be a playoff team. This is the team I did with Ron and Jacob. We are just barely not a playoff team right now. by roughly 6 points or 1 win, we would take this guy's spot. So we're in the mix to make the playoffs. The team is a good team. Rolling with Fields. We got Nico on this team. We got a lot of pieces on the bench. Komet, Rome, Coleman, Worthy, Addison, Nico, Brees, J.K. Dobbins, Mason, Walker. Maybe we miss Mason, McBride. So a very complete team. These two teams seem dead. This team, not very good. My RT Sports teams are doing pretty good. Let's see. 3, 5, and 1 teams, 2, 3, and 3 teams, and a 2 and 4 team. So crushing it on RT Sports. I still don't think I can show you my marathon teams. I'm sorry, guys, but I don't know what's wrong with Underdog, but you can't look at them. Like, for example, if I click on this team, shows my point score is 719.64. If I click on any other team, it just populates the same exact team. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not winning the marathon right now or drafters. Hey, appreciate you, Zach. Such a nice comment. Yeah, I mean, this like so many guys who I drafted in past years and didn't draft this year are smashing. Sean Tucker, I drafted a bunch of Sean Tucker last year. Alec Pierce, I drafted a lot of Alec Pierce last year. Jameson Williams. So Brian Thomas Jr. advance rates, we can look at that. I drafted a lot of Brian Thomas Jr. 20 teams for me. I was all over him early. I didn't draft as much later after he got negative reporting. So that was me trying to like weigh information, but maybe the lesson there is just ignore reporting and just, like, why did I draft a lot of Brian Thomas? Big, fast guy on the Jags, first round pick. He's advancing below expectation, which is, I guess it's just him and Trevor's been so bad that it's weighing down Brian Thomas, and Kirk has been bad, and Ingram's been bad, and ETN's been bad. So all the Titans guys he'd be paired with for week 17 has been bad. So him by himself is positive expectation. And then also, like, he's dealing with Chris Godwin, which what is Chris Godwin's advance rate? My God. 37%. Yeah, Evan Hull to the moon next year. That's the one where I didn't quit, man. Right? Like, that's the one where I was like, okay, I plan to quit it. Man, I have 16 Evan Hull teams. Why couldn't you be Tyler Goodson? Most of these are early, though. You can see April, May, April, May, April. Only one June team. So this is a risk of drafting early. And did I need to draft Evan Hull on all these teams? No. I clearly thought I was drafting a valuable player before the field knew, and I was wrong, right? Like, so I could have been more risk adverse and been like, okay, I'll do Evan Hull here and I'll do different running back here, but I didn't, right? Like, and that's fine. No, brother, he's not coming back. He is, I mean, he needs, I guess if Trey Sermon and Jonathan Taylor are hurt, then you might see Evan Hull, but he's on the practice squad. That's not a good sign. How many Tolbert Dobbins teams? Let me tell you. Dobbins and Tolbert. There's 4,000 teams in the contest. What's my Vidal exposure? My exposure is pretty average on him. I got 11 Vidal teams. So 11 out of 150. %. You know what, brother? That's true. Practice squad is better than IR. I like the positivity. We're here for positivity. Absolutely. Drafters, we can look at drafters. Not much going on. My high stakes DraftKings teams also pretty average. I'll pull them in when later in the year. Let's see. My top team is 1,800. It's over 100 points back. So it's a good team, but not good enough. Daniels, Fields, Jones, Kyron, Etienne, Cook, Kamara, AJ Brown, Nico. Yeah, the injuries just not going to do it. Still too early to say there, obviously. What is the team that's at the top? We can look at that again. Can you check Eric Izukakama advance rate? I don't even know who that is, man. This is the top team. You had a big debate. Are the Jets making... I mean, I think they can. I looked at that already. They have a very easy schedule. Man, it's very annoying how in this picture it shows me the standings, but when I go show more, it does it like this. Like I want one list view. Let's try CBS. Hopefully their ads are not too bad. Okay. So yeah. Colts, let's call them frauds. Chargers, pretty fraudulent. Steelers, pretty fraudulent. Chiefs, Texans, Ravens, Bills, all pretty real to me. So then if you're the Jets or the Bengals, or the Dolphins, really the only like three real teams amongst the bad teams right now. The Dolphins obviously need to get Tua back. In the Jets and Bengals case, they simply to start winning some games, and they need these guys to start losing some games. Period. If they can do that, they're going to be in the playoffs. Like, do I think the Jets are better than the Chargers and the Steelers and the Colts? Yes, I do. Do I think the Bengals are better than those three teams? Yes, I do. So, yeah, I think either of those teams. I mean, if you win your games, the rest will fall into place. I think that's kind of too many ads populate and it makes my stream all wonky. But I mean, yeah, like remember last year, the Bills, everyone thought the Bills were dead. I looked at the schedule. I looked at Dolphins' schedule, and I was like, oh, I think the Bills are going to win the division. They just need to win out. They did, pretty much. The Dolphins lost to them. Bills won the division. And in playoff best ball, that allowed me to get all these like cheap Bills before where people were taking like Browns players, you know? What team is at the bottom? I don't even know if I can look at that. I think I would need Patrick to tell me. I don't think you can just scroll to the bottom. We can look at my worst team. That would be easier. My worst team is in 667 229, and there are something like 678. So this is one of the lowest scoring teams. Oh my God. It's one of the lowest scoring teams, and it's not even in 12th. It's in 11th. So there is a worse team than this in its own pod. Tyreek, Olave, Metcalf, Rome, Coleman, Burton, Tillman. Honestly, like wide receiver room seems okay. Kincaid, Sanat, Janu. Hurts and Watson. Zamir White, Pollard, Benson, Gus, Jalen Wright, Ray Davis. So really the running back room is hurting it, which of course, like a lot of my Ray Davis teams were probably in, I don't know. Actually, I want to look at that. A lot of my Ray Davis teams are probably in like 7th to 12th place, and it's going to take a couple big weeks for them, right? Like, okay, all these Ray Davis teams are extremely alive. They could all be advancing if Cook misses more time, or he's clearly going to play himself into more of a role. And my portfolio kind of needs these Ray Davis games. We looked at that. It was like 4K or something. Is Eric Eric Izukanama. There are 5 teams. So that's that. Let's look at my 2 5-1 teams. See if they're any good. 3 5-1 teams. Excuse me, I'm the GOAT. I stream most of these, by the way, too, so you can go back and watch these. So this one's a Josh Allen Kincaid team with Chase and Higgins, Ayuk and Samuel, and Mason. So it's just Bengals, 49ers, Bills. I like it. Brian Robinson on the bench. This team is a Jaden Daniels team. Got to have one of those. Tony Pollard, Mason, Chase, Tank, Kittle, Moore, Roma Dunze. Also has Nico Collins on the bench. So this team is sick. Like those Chase, Nico teams. Double Bears, obviously not this week. I don't know. It's got a lot of depth on this team. Just really not sure who's going to be playing. And then this team is a Lamar. This team actually drafted Andrews too. So it's Lamar, Likely, Flowers, Andrews team. But it's advancing because it's got Achane and Gibbs, Mason, Brian. So yeah, I drafted a lot of Jordan Mason on RT Sports, and that's why I'm smashing. Brian Thomas, Shakir, Ayuk, Flowers. So it can sometimes be a literal like one player, you know? Mike Williams to the Chiefs, highly doubtful. That doesn't really seem to mesh with what they do. And he's on a, are the Jets aren't going to just trade him away for nothing. They'll just let him ride the bench in case of injury. And maybe Alan Lazard eventually gets benched for him. So some sweats here. Definitely going to have some season-long sweats. Hopefully both these main events get in. That would have me advancing 2 out of my 3 main events, which would be pretty nice. Hey, and I guess this one's not even dead. Right? Like, it suffered a lot of injuries. How many points back is it? 841. So it's only like 90 points back. And I think we just scored the most in the league. Ah, I'm in. I'm in, guys. If anyone's still there, let me know. I don't know what happened there. Everyone blames StreamYard. I don't even know what we were doing. Anyways, I'm not going to go much longer here. I think I was showing you guys an FFPC team. Is anyone there? I might just end this bad boy. Oh, God. It's glitching. All right. I'm going to end this. Be back tomorrow with Davis. Thanks for watching. Peace out.